Excellent. Very good. Very good. Well, let's give ourselves 1 minute to let some of the people that wanted to join, let them get in. We're still accepting people, so let's just wait a little bit. Everyone, thank you for your patience. You're in the right place if you wanted to attend the Increase the Effectiveness of Your Advertising and Drive More Revenue Online Now webinar. So if that's what you wanted to get, you're in the right place.
And if you're in the wrong place, stay anyway.
Yeah, you can stay anyway. Exactly, exactly. All right. I'll say we're given a minute or two for people to start joining. Why don't we start with introductions, Marty? So first of all, hello and welcome everybody to our webinar, Increase the Effectiveness of Your Advertising and Drive More Revenue Online Now. My name is Gerardo Kerik, and I will be your host today. This webinar is brought to you by WSI, and it's part of an educational series that we launched when COVID-19 hit us. You know, with the shift to digital, your website has to be aligned with your advertising messages, right? And all too often, websites are focused on what the advertiser wants and not necessarily what the visitor needs in order to actually convert and make a buying decision. So today, we will walk you through the steps needed to increase that revenue generated by your website, okay? If you please go to wsidigitalboost.com, our website, to learn more about past and upcoming webinars in case you want to sign up for something different. As you know, we're all connected from home. If for any reason any of us gets disconnected, don't worry, we'll connect back, okay? Just be patient. Now, I'd like to introduce you to our guest today, Marty Greif. Marty is president of SiteTuners, and I'll let him just do a quick introduction, and then we can move towards the topic of the webinar, okay?
Okay.
Marty, welcome.
Well, thank you, Gerardo. And, you know, it's a pleasure to be here. And as Gerardo mentioned, we're working from home, right? It is what it is right now. On the screen, we have a video, or not a video, a picture of my new book. The book is done, and the publisher told me I should have gotten a few copies delivered to the house already, but they're having a couple shipping issues. So I'm holding up my invisible book. That's what it feels like right now. But I'm guessing we're days to weeks away from their channel working to get it all up and running. So True Connections, the relationship marketing digital world, the reason I put up the book, even though you physically can't get it yet, is because that's really the basis of this presentation. It's all about connecting with people. And so what's in the book, I've tried to distill into, or at least distill chapter, believe it or not, chapter 1 into this presentation here. And the idea here is that we really, really need to connect with people online to increase our revenues, whether you're selling e-commerce or subscriptions or lead gen or whatever you're doing. And speaking of connecting, if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'd be more than happy. I'd be honored to have you in my network. So with that in mind, I'd like to know a little bit more about the audience so that I can tailor what I'm saying specific to the people who are here. So let's do a quick poll real quick, if you don't mind. So we're going to ask you, what's your industry? And you got a couple of choices because you could be more than one, and if you answered an advertiser, there's a second objective, okay? Although frankly, even, if you're, I think primarily that would apply to advertisers, but, you could be an agency that's trying to do those things for somebody, and one could argue might be able to be a media person to do the same thing. By the way, let me explain a couple things. I have multiple monitors here. So when I'm looking to the side, I'm actually not ignoring you all. I'm looking at, the poll in a couple different pieces. So it's not that I'm schizophrenic here. And another piece of housekeeping in this process here is if you have questions, there's a question button that you can put your questions in, and Gerardo will be monitoring those. I'm actually not going to be looking at those while I'm giving this
Hmm.
presentation, but Gerardo, if you see something you really think I need to
Absolutely.
address, like right
I'll
then and
bring
there,
it up.
or we'll save it for later, right? Okay.
Yeah. So we will have an option at the end of the webinar for questions and answers. But if you have anything that is relevant to the specific topic that Marty is presenting at the time, just put it on the questions and answers or in the chat box, and we'll try to deal with it. Okay, as we receive it. So we
Yeah,
have like
and maybe we'll wait till later too. It depends.
sure.
So just whatever you think makes sense. So go
Absolutely.
ahead.
So,
Right.
so we have about 50% of the people participating on the webinar that have voted. I'll leave it for another 20 seconds. If you can just answer the questions, that will help us make this presentation more relevant to the audience. So, okay, all
Perfect.
right. I'm gonna
So
end the poll, and you'll see the
great.
results. Okay, so let me just share the results with you. So we have about 64% of the people on this call are a media channel, TV, cable, radio station, etc.
Hmm.
36% buy advertising for their
Hmm.
service. About 18% are an agency.
Hmm.
And from the people that say that they buy advertising, 36% they sell through an e-commerce site. We have nobody from a subscription service. 18% business to business lead generation, 45% business to consumer lead generation. So this is really interesting.
Okay. So let me just soak that in for a second. Okay. Good.
Hmm.
All right. So now um, we're going to start off a little strange. Okay. Here's the first question I'm going to ask you, and I want you to think about it for a second. Are you selfish? I mean, that's a weird way to start off a webinar. Are you selfish? I mean, who am I and why am I asking that question? But here's the answer, and I really need you to think about this. Everybody's selfish, okay? We are literally animals, okay? And so we are hardwired to, make sure that we get food and sleep and, and to procreate. And so it's all within our own instincts, all right? And look, we were almost going to do a poll on this too, but people love to talk about themselves and we talk about your bad listeners. I know for a fact that everybody on this call, all right, has met people at in a party, at a trade show, wherever. And 3 seconds after meeting them, if they didn't have a name badge, we forgot their names, right? I know you've probably done it too, right, buddy?
I do it all the time, man.
Yeah, I know. And it's not like we're bad people. We're not bad people. We just are wired this way, all right? And so part of that really is going to translate into what we do because of how we're hardwired in our advertising and what happens when we drive people. If you all hopefully you know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but basically, after we get to a certain level, where there's self-actualization, we're concerned about our ego. We're at the top part of this. We're not worried about being cavemen, living with fire and fighting over food and so on. But here's the thing: even on the top half of the pyramid, we're still driven by being selfish. All right, people donate to charity, because it makes them feel good. Okay, I know that sounds terrible. Soldiers risk their lives, okay, and we thank them for their service, but they're doing it because it gives them a feeling of self-worth. They're contributing back. It's how they make themselves feel. Teachers who care and want their students to do well, they get gratification out of having students do well. Scientists working on invention, they're looking, there's that ego, I look what I did. We're all looking for that, even at the top half of the pyramid. So if we're all selfish to some level, what does that mean for marketing? The problem is, as marketers, we're selfish, we're hardwired, and we don't know it or we're not accepting it, but it is a problem. And so with that in mind, okay, how do you know? Well, we're not bad people. We're just forgetting about the visitor. We're so consumed with our ideas, and we're always saying, here, do this, do that. We're bombarding them with all sorts of concepts. But we're forgetting that people are coming here for a reason. So what are some obvious problems? Gated content, so what is gated content? We're going to talk about that later too, but gated content is download our free white paper and fill out this form and answer 20 questions about yourself. Okay, that's just nuts. All right, but that's gated content. Very long and irrelevant form fields, too much content on a website. I don't know if you've experienced this, but somebody in your organization says, well, we need to tell them about this and we need to tell them about that. And no, you don't. Okay. And so then we focus on, what we're trying to sell, and we get in our own way. So we're selfish. And so the reality is it's not about you. It's about the visitor. And ultimately, if you focus on the visitor, it's a win for everybody. And this next slide is the most important slide in the deck. Now, that doesn't mean you can leave afterwards. You're not supposed to do that. But, let me just say this slide really says it all, okay? True connections, which again is the title of the book, all right? When you align user intent with their experience and your company goals in that intersection, that's where true connections actually happen. You know, and it's got to be all three. All right. So obviously we have to match your company goals. You're trying to sell something, you're trying to get a subscription, you're trying to get someone to be a lead, right? Because we had a lot of lead gen, B2B and B2C. You want them to fill out a form, you want them to raise your hand. Okay. But if you're not satisfying whatever their user intent is, and the experience is fill out this form, do this, do that, they're going to leave. You have to give before you get. All right. And you'll hear me say that a couple times. If you solve the problem or the issue that the visitor had, and you give value in that experience, and it aligns with your company goals, that's where the money is. That's where it all comes together. Hopefully, that makes a ton of sense. And let's take this back to what happens in person. All right. So back to that party scenario. We're out there, we're at a party or we're at an event. Okay. And what happens? You look at somebody and you go, do I want to talk to this person? Do I trust this person? Do I feel good about them? Right? I mean, we make quick judgments. And do I want to continue the discussion? Are they interesting? That's what happens. Now, this happens in the blink of an eye, right? You're talking to people and you're making these judgments right away. So what do they mean? Do I want to talk to this person? There's an introduction, a name, or did we tune out right then and there? Do I trust them? Are they friendly? Do I like the way they look? Right? Looks matter. All right. If they look like who did it and ran, you're probably not going to trust them. Right? I would say if they had a mask on, but today, unfortunately, people are wearing masks, so that doesn't work anymore. And do I want to continue this discussion? Is it interesting? Is there a good sharing of information? We're asking these kind of questions in our brain. All right, we're not saying these things to these people, but in our brain, we're asking these kinds of questions. Well, interestingly enough, these same kind of concepts happen when someone comes to your website. Are you making this connection with people? So let me give you the versions of it that happen on a website. Am I in the right place? How do I feel about this site? And what am I supposed to do here? Okay. Those are the three questions that everybody asks when they land on, whether it's your homepage or a landing page or wherever they go. This was what goes through their mind, subconsciously in microseconds. So let's talk about each one at a time here. So, am I in the right place? Well, you have to match the visitor intent. And I always tell people, don't make me think, right? That is that you'll if you've seen me or heard me speak before, don't make me think is one of my key takeaways for you. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So if you're in the United States, and I know we have visitors, outside of the United States, so let me just, and for those of you in the US, bear with me. All right. So this is a brand. Progressive is a brand out there. And the woman there is on TV all the time, Flo. And so the advertisement is about Progressive and Flo and so on. And when you're a brand, you can get away with things that non-brands can't get away with. But here's in the top of the screen, you'll see where it says, you know, what is, New York homeowners insurance, right? That's what I'm looking for. But look at the ad here, okay? It doesn't talk about New York at all, right? So I don't actually know, do they sell in New York? And then when I land on the page, if I get this far, again, I don't know if they sell in New York or not. And here's the thing, you might think, well, of course they sell in New York. I will tell you that there have been a number of times where I've gone to something where there was an ad, and this is crazy, where this has happened for like cable companies a lot, where they're selling cable services or phone, it's just amazing. You go to the page and then you put in your zip code and they tell you they don't service your area. I'm sorry, what? Okay. So as crazy as this sounds, if the search was New York homeowners insurance quote, and I get here, it's not matching the user expectations, and you're making me think. Okay. And let me give you the example of don't make me think. Now, this may be um, uh, obvious, but here's the thing. If this, and I know I look foolish, Gerardo has seen me do this before, right? So if this is my gas tank of my patience in my brain, I might be on full, but you don't know if the dog peed on the rug, or you don't know if I had a fight with my spouse, or if one of the kids was bad. And every time you make me think, you're using up a little of my patience until I go away, right? And then I'm out of there. So let me show you the correct way to do this. Same exact quote, all right? New York homeowners insurance quote. But look, compare top 10 New York, and then there's New York, and there's New York. So the ad absolutely talks about New York. And then when I get to the page, New York, right? And so when we did this for this client, all right, now the answer to the question, am I in the right place? I don't have to think about it. And by doing this, it increased the lead flow by 86%, okay, which is significant. So you need to really think about who are they, who's coming to your site, and are you matching that user intent? All right. This is the example of how to do it right versus Progressive, which is a brand which was doing it incorrectly. Fair enough? Let's go to the next question, which is, how do I feel about this site? Well, a well-executed design boosts credibility, and you need all sorts of potentially social proof, or there's trust seals and so on. So let me show you an example. It turns out that you can buy barbecue grills in the United States online, and this barbecue grill is, almost $2,000. And the only thing on here that's kind of trustworthy here is there's a thing that says in stock with a green checkbox. But other than that, these people are asking me to spend almost $2,000, and there's going to be tax on here. Maybe it's over 2,000. When it's done. They're, I guess, is they charging for shipping? Free shipping on orders over 25. Okay, good. So the problem here is there's no trust. Let me show you a competitor of theirs, and you answer the question yourself. Same exact grill, same exact price, but on a different site. Now look at the trust on this site. All right. First off, phone number is the biggest trust symbol on the face of the planet. They've got all sorts of trust symbols here. They've got nice reviews here, right? Look at this. Which one of these sites, and I could go back to the previous one, but which one of these sites would you be more likely to be willing to put $2,000 in on your credit card? Do you trust the other site? You know, Probably not unless you knew who they were. All right. Do you trust these people? Well, it's much more likely. And having this type of trust absolutely increases the conversion rate, because when I get here, remember, am I in the right place? We already answered that. How do I feel about it? Well, you know what? I feel pretty darn good here. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go a step further. What am I supposed to do here? Again, this goes back to don't make me think, or back to that. But we want to get people into the right place on the site without making it really hard. So with that in mind, all right, let's take a look at, you know, and if you look at this, they've got a little bit of trust on here, but what am I supposed to do here? Well, this is what's hot, and I guess they sell this stuff here. I probably wouldn't pronounce it right, Le Creuset, and they sell some knives. And I guess I could go to their nav bar to look at this, right? But I don't really know where to go and where to look. So we turn that same exact thing into this, and their conversion rate went way up. All right. And look what we've done. We now have the largest range of kitchenware online. So we've got a really nice, uh, uh, you know, uh, unique selling proposition here. We also, they had this trust on the previous page, but it was blending into the background so you didn't see it. So that's a problem. So we've highlighted the trust, but the big thing here is look at the visual navigation, okay? Here I can see they sell bakeware, cookware, glassware, and so on. And there is sub-navigation underneath here so that I can go to exactly what I'm looking for. And let me give you a couple quick tips here, as crazy as this sounds. You'll notice in the bakeware category, we have multiple types of bakeware. We've tested this, I can't tell you how many times. If you only showed one type of bakeware, you have to design, and this sounds terrible, you have to design your website as if your visitor was lazy and or stupid, okay? And the issue there is if you only show one type, people will look at it and go, oh, that's what they sell. By showing what we call category level images, it gets people to understand, oh, they got lots of things here that I could buy, right? And so that's what we're doing, is we're giving them an idea that there's many things they can buy. Now there's 4 things across here, and I will tell you, if you scroll down, you would see another row. So here's what happens here. People can process between 3 to 5 things, all right? And what happens is you could actually have a row of 5 things. But you could also have 5 rows. So you could have a matrix of 5 by 5 or 25 items. I'm not suggesting that, by the way, but you could do that, because the way it works is, at least, the Latin-based Romance languages, we all read left to right. It's not like, Arabic or Hebrew. So we're looking left to right. So what happens here is we look at this, or Japanese or Chinese, which are completely different. We're looking at this left to right, and we're saying, is there anything in this row that we care about? No. So then I go to the next row, and I'm comparing the top row to the next row. So I'm comparing row versus items in each individual row. And again, we've tested that, so you can do 3 to 5. So this absolutely positively will make a difference. And I don't care if you're doing lead gen or subscriptions or e-commerce, this type of visual navigation is absolutely what you need to do. And we'll have examples of a couple other types here in a moment. So going on, let me just do a quick recap, okay, here. It's, am I in the right place? All right, seriously, don't make your visitors think, match their expectations. Make it really easy for them to go from point A to point B. And then how do I feel about it? Make them feel safe, make them feel loved. And I gotta add in a point here about, the pandemic we're in. This is more important than ever right now. If your site is not providing what we call, if you're not providing love to people on your site, all right, if you're not making them feel safe and good about you, because people are already scared, they're worried about the economies, they're worried about their health. The last thing they need to do is worry about what kind of site you are, all right? You need to go above and beyond to make people feel safe and secure. So that has become even more important. And then what am I supposed to do here? Use visual navigation to direct people's attention and make it really easy. Now, a lot of people say, well, we've got the nav bar. Well, yeah, but here's the problem. The nav bar is how you think about your business. If somebody has to rely on your nav bar instead of visual navigation, you're already making them think. You're already lost them a little bit. And what's even worse, on sites that have site search, if they are searching for something really specific, okay, where it's, an article that they saw, and it's a long tail thing that they're looking for, or it's a specific part number, it's fine, okay? But if they're going to your site search and they're searching for generic things, that says they're not finding it visually, and you're making them work at it. So look at your, if you have site search, look at your site search to make sure that they're looking only for very specific things and not general categories. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So now that we talked about these three questions, let me give you some examples of how to apply them directly. So, four best practices that typically, if you do these things, we have seen, and I'm serious, if you do these things, okay, after this meeting, and you make these changes, we on average see people increase their conversion rate by about 10%. These are some of the top things that you can do that will make an immediate impact on your revenue. So um, I can't stress it enough. And I know we're going to talk about each one, but this matters. So let's talk about the first one, static versus rotating banners. Motion is distracting for visitors and rotating banners push content down, all right? And we're gonna talk about that in a minute in a little bit more detail. So how do you measure success? If you get rid of things that are basically visually distracting, your bounce rate should go down. You should get more click-throughs through your pages, and your conversion rate goes up. And now, for the first time on this slide, I'm introducing macro and micro conversions. And let me talk about that for a second. So, your end conversion, if you can, is whatever. It's the form fill, it's the sale, it's the subscription, it's whatever that end conversion is, and that's what we want to increase. To test things with statistical significance, you need to have 10 conversion actions per day per device type. All right, so 10 on mobile, 10 on 10 on desktop, for the page that you're going on. Well, if you don't have those 10 per day, and in a perfect world, it's 10 per day per device type per channel. So I'm measuring my Facebook advertising, I'm measuring my TV advertising, I'm measuring my radio advertising, and I'm looking at each one separately, and you want a minimum of 10 per day per device type. But if you don't have that, you can still measure micro conversions. And a micro conversion is, how do we get them one step closer to the end goal in the funnel? And that could be they go to the next page or they spend this much time. So you have to figure out what are the success metrics so that you can measure not just the end goal, but the micro conversions that get them there. So, and then you can work on increasing those. And if you increase the micro conversions over time, your overall macro conversions increase. And at some point you'll have enough to be able to, if you don't already, you'll have enough to be able to measure and test your end goal conversions. So let's talk about a static and rotating banner, okay? Here's an example of a brand, all right? And this rotates, and there's a thing called banner blindness. Oh my God, say that 3 times fast. Banner blindness. We have tested this, I can't tell you how many times, that if you've got a banner that's got multiple items in it, by the 3rd or 4th, they're already done paying attention to you, okay? And you're really making me think, and I'm gonna go a step further. Remember I said early on that we are literally animals? Well, that matters. When we were cave people sitting around the fire, when there was movement, that was potentially a danger signal. So, and I'm going to look like an idiot, but we saw something that's like, oh my God, the bear's coming to eat me, right? So danger. Every time there's movement, it catches our attention. So when a banner is changing, that's called cognitive friction. And what happens, I'm going to exaggerate again, but you're basically triggering that animal brain, that flight or flight, to go, what's that? What's that? Okay. And the problem with that is you're interrupting my thought process. And I will tell you that we've tested this, I can't tell you how many times, but banners lower conversion rate by 10 to 15%. Okay. And so what you need to do is match the intent, all right? Use visual navigation and make it really easy for somebody to find what they're looking for. Now, I know there's a number of people that say, yes, but this department wants to talk about this, and this department wants to talk about that, and the CEO wants to talk about this. It doesn't matter. The only person that matters are the visitors coming to your website who are going to give you money at some point. I don't care what your CEO wants. What I care about is what your visitors want, so they give you money. And I promise you that your CEO wants the money too. So if we could just get people to stop saying, we need to tell them about this and we need to tell them about that. No, you don't. You need to show them what they're looking for so they give you money. Okay, I can't stress that enough. All right, so rotating banners, very bad. All right.
Mario,
Go ahead.
just one point to to the movement comment that
Yeah.
that you mentioned before. Movement is great for advertising, right?
Yes, on
Because
somebody else's site. On somebody
exactly.
else's site. Yeah.
So if you have a banner that it's moving and is distracting somebody that is searching for your competitors, please do that. That's fine.
Yes.
I think like 64% of you said you're investing in advertising. That's do that, but not on your site, please.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Hart is absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right, buddy. So yeah, so the only place to put movement is on somebody else's site because you do want to distract them and stop them from thinking. Because if they're reading an article, they're on some article page and you've got something flashing, you don't want them to read the article on somebody's page. You want them to come click on your ad, right? That's why movement works. But don't do that on your site. On your site, you don't want them to be distracted. You want them to just do what they need to do. All right. So very good point, Gerardo. All right. All right. Visual navigation on a home page versus, just all sorts of offers. You just make it easy for people to find what they're looking for. And again, I don't care if you're a lead gen site or an e-commerce site or a subscription site, make it really simple. So for example, on a lead gen, I'm going to show you an e-commerce site, but let me tell you, we do the exact same things on lead gen sites. And so for example, if it was a lead gen for insurance, the boxes might be, are you looking for homeowners insurance, flood insurance, car insurance? When I get there, am I in the right place? Yeah, I'm looking for car insurance. I click and I'm done, right? It makes it simple. All right. I'm beating that horse. It's already dead. So how do you measure success here? Again, same concepts, bounce rate, time on page, right? And we're looking at the conversion rate. So it's very similar stuff here. Let's look at an example. This, believe it or not, is an e-commerce site. Okay, but it looks like a blog kind of also because there's basically what we call, an army of words down here marching on the page looking for meaning. All right, and so, there's all sorts of things on here, and it's like, well, there's hair and there's sample kits and bestsellers, or should I read the blog, or should I sign up for the free, skincare guide, or should I do the tips? What should I be doing here? There's a lot of choices here versus we turn that into this, all right, which has got all the things we talked about. It's got visual navigation, it's got trust symbols on here, it's got clear calls to action, it does all the things right. And this, when we change from the old to the new, this increased the conversion rate by 277%. Okay, and frankly, that's a nice increase in conversion. Now, in fairness, it wasn't just that we did the visual navigation. We had to do all of it. Now the banner ads don't move. There's no movement. And the banner ad, and we're not telling you not to have banner ads on your site. This is where you introduce your unique selling proposition, natural products for black skin and hair. Okay, look your best, shop products. They're really making it clear what they do without things moving around. All right, so that's the concept here. And again, this was a 277% increase. All right, number of form fields, and less is more, and we're going to talk about this. So the more form fields you have,
We
the
have we
less.
have a poll, buddy. Remember, you want to launch the poll, or do you want to
Ooh,
bypass it?
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, go ahead. Please go
You
ahead.
think so? Okay.
Well, yeah, I
I didn't want to steal your mojo, but let's do that. So,
go ahead.
so the question is, what is the minimum number of fields needed for someone to download a white paper, right, on a poll? What do you think? Is it more than 5, from 3 to 5, from 1 to 3, 1, or nothing?
Yeah. So what do you need to be able to download something, whether it's a white
Yeah, it
paper or
has.
watch
Yeah,
a video, it's whatever you're doing, but you've gated it with,
yeah.
What's the minimum number of
Yeah.
fields that you
So while
need?
we're letting people finish the poll, I was just gonna say with visual navigation, one of the other benefits that you get is that people self-select, right? So now you
Mhm.
can look at traffic within your site and you see really what people are more attracted to in terms of,
Oh, absolutely.
to your example, car insurance, life insurance, flood insurance, people are self-selecting and now they're at the place where you can message them specifically to their needs. Okay, so we have almost 76, almost 80% of the people that
Hmm.
responded. So let me just share the results so everybody could see. Right. So
Okay.
32% thinks 3 to 5,
Hmm.
47% from 1 to 3, and then we have both 11% either one field or no fields. So
Okay. Yeah. You know
guess what?
what? You know what? I'm gonna. We're gonna. We've got that poll. All right. I saw the answers. Let me show you a couple things, and then let's see if and we don't have to run the poll again, but let's see if you change your mind about what's needed. All right. So let's talk about how you measure success here. Abandonment rate. Do people leave? Right. What's the conversion rate? These are the things that you're looking at to see how they're working on the how your forms are working. And I'm going to show you a form that's a little old, all right, but I just love how bad this form is. I just this we worked with them and got them a big increase, but I just got to show you this because this has got to be of all the things that anyone's ever brought to us, the worst one we ever saw. Okay. So I know that it's hard to read this, so I'll tell you what it says here. First name, spouse's name, last name, email, home phone, work phone, cell phone, best time to call, select the state, how much do you want to borrow? I mean, they could have gone on you know, where did you go to lunch? What did you have to eat? Did it make your tummy upset? I mean, this is just nuts. Okay. This is absolutely nuts. Okay. People will not fill out all this. So we turn that into this. Okay. And this, by lowering, we added trust, we did a number of things, but look, there's a lot less here. We're not being, creepy. And the example I use for creepy, and this is terrible. I always tell a little story. This is like a guy going into a bar, walking up to somebody that he thinks is interesting, and says, "Hi, do you live around here? What do you do for a living? How much money do you make?" I mean, it's creepy. And so here's what I say to people: don't be creepy in person, and don't be creepy online. Okay, you don't have to ask for all this stuff. This increased the conversion rate by 51%, and that's how bad it was. So now let's go to one more example of this, the before and after. Here's a buyer's guide for hearing aids. Okay, and you can see what we lowered it from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fields to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 6. And this increased the conversion rate by 17%. Less is more. But here's the answer to the question, all right? And this is where people are going to go, what? Because there was a couple people that had the right answer in there. What you need to be able to download a white paper or watch a video or whatever it is, the number of fields is 0. You don't need any fields to download it. And now for all of you who are in lead gen are going, but how do I get my leads? Let me tell you how you get your leads. If you give people ungated content and the content you give them provides a ton of value, then you have earned the right to ask for the next step in the process. Okay. And what do I mean by that? If you provide really, really high quality information, and let's say it's a white paper for sake of argument, and at the very end, or maybe even the middle and at the end, you have a call to action that says, want to learn more, take the next step, whatever the right call to action is for your thing. That goes to another page on the website. And that page is gated because now they trust you, right? You've given something. It's the principle of reciprocity. I gave you something of value. You now owe me. Okay. So here's what that translates into: you will get a lot more downloads. You may or may not get more leads, but the quality of your leads will go through the roof. And here's why. I don't know how many of you do this, but I'll bet you it's a large percentage that have email addresses that you use to fill in forms that you never look at it. I've got an old AOL email address. I got a Yahoo email address. I don't use them. I fill out a form, and if they say, well, you need to validate your email because that's how they're going to get you. Oh my God, you need to validate your email. So I open up Yahoo or AOL. I click on the validation, and I never look there again. And there's literally thousands of junk emails just going into those accounts. I don't look at them. But if you actually provide value to somebody, you really provide value, they're going to want what you send next, and they're going to give you a better email. So what happens is the quality of your lead generation goes up. And we've tested this time and time again. But I show this example here because for a lot of people, that is a bridge too far. It's just too scary. Although I'm really suggest you do an A/B test on it. But if you can't really just let go, or you don't have the follow-on stuff, yet built, at least lower the number of form fields. And again, this brought us a 17% increase. All right, hopefully that makes sense. All right, so the answer is 0, but I understand why you might not be able to do that. Okay, but hopefully you understand the logic that less is more, and if you provide real value, you will get back real leads. All right, trust symbols in the header. All right. Again, how do I feel about this site? That's what what problem we're solving here. How do I make someone feel safe? And again, this is so important right now. I mean, people are scared. All right, so we need to apply, trust. So what does it do? If believe it or not, if you make people feel comfortable, the bounce rate should decrease. Okay. Now, interestingly, if time on site could potentially increase, because if they trust you and more people are going through your site, you've got more time on your site. And again, conversion rate, same exact thing as before, your macro and micro conversion should increase. So again, I'm going to show you an example of somebody, they came to us with this design. And they're selling basically diet pills. Well, why would I trust these people here? Okay, what about this would generate any kind of trust? It violates a number of other rules too, by the way, but there's no trust on here. The closest thing to a trust someone here is the Visa and MasterCard in the bottom, so that's the closest thing they've got to trust. Let me tell you what we turned that into. We've got trust symbols in the top. Phone numbers mentioned earlier is the largest trust symbol on the face of the planet. 60-day money back guarantee. Norton. Look at the trust. Now, again, we did other things here. We made it more modern and so on. But here's the thing I want to tell you. Trust symbols in the header. You don't know what page on your website somebody's going to land on. So if you have trust symbols in your header, no matter where they land, they could potentially feel good about you. And you ready for this? We talked like Norton on the bottom here. That's a real trust symbol. These others, they made them up. They made them up. But it works. Okay, 233,075 plus customers. Quality guaranteed with a checkbox. Formula, these are trust symbols. They made them up. Conversions jumped. Okay, trust symbols matter. Make me feel safe when I get here. All right. So with that in mind, let's do another quick poll here. So here's a question for you, okay? So we're going to ask you some questions, and then you get to ask us some questions at the end here. So how many of these problems described, apply to you? All of them? Many of them? Some? None? And then, do you know how to address these? Are you, yes, you got it, you're not sure, or no? All right? So I'm telling you, we see these things on every single site that people bring to us. It is rare never to see almost all of them. Okay. So we got people voting here. Gerardo?
Yeah, we're about 40% of the voting
Okay.
coming in. So let's give people
Yeah,
a
we'll give
minute
it a
more.
minute or two. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll give it a minute or two. And I know that some of these, especially, we because I invoked, the CEO, right? And I know that some of these you might feel like they're out of your control sometimes, but the reality is with the right explanation, okay, and the right metrics, and that's what conversion and rate optimization is all about. With the right metrics, I've not met a CEO or a CMO or a VP of advertising or marketing who cannot be convinced with real numbers to actually make these changes. So even if you feel like, you know what, we may have these problems, but there's nothing I can do about it, I'm going to tell you that's not necessarily true. Okay,
Mhm.
you can get there. Okay.
Okay, so we have about 50% of participants that have voted. Um, you have a last chance. I'm going to leave another 15, 20 seconds for you to be able to answer the questionnaire, and then we'll continue.
Perfect. Now, Gerardo, we just went through that. Have we also had some questions in the process here?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So
So
we'll deal with that after.
so
Okay.
we'll deal with that after. So I'm gonna end the poll and share. Okay.
Okay.
So how many of the problems described during this presentation apply to you? 8%, one person said all of them. 25%, many of them. 67%, some of them.
Mhm.
And do you know how to address the issues identified? That's surprising. 67% said yes, and 33% said unsure.
Well, that means I did a good job.
I think you did.
I think that's what that means. So, okay. At least that's the way I'm going to look at it, right?
Yep. Yep.
All right. So let's continue on, and we're going to go into Q&A. All right.
Yeah, that's right. So, Mari, you're controlling, right?
Yes, I was just waiting for the poll to go away, but I
Mm,
made it go.
yeah.
All right, so let me give you an offer here. Gerardo is got for you guys if you're interested. If you don't know how to proceed, or even if you said yes but you'd like some extra help, let me tell you, this is not a sales pitch. We're doing this to give back. There is nothing. So if you want to take us up on this offer, um, Gerardo and one of our conversion rate optimization specialists will sit down with you. We'll spend 45 minutes and we'll tell you exactly what you need to do. At the end of that call, we're not going to ask you for anything. There is no sales pitch. This is the way we give back. All right, so there's nothing to buy today. There's nothing to buy if you want to take us up on this offer. This seriously is about doing the right thing for people. Now, if after that 45 minutes you say, you know what, you'd like some help, you can always talk to us at a later date, but that's not what this is about. There will be no pitch, today or during that meeting. It is all about giving you value. We'll record it, we'll send you the recording, and you should hopefully know exactly what you need to do. All right. So that's enough of that. If you'd like to take us up on it, you are
Yeah.
more than welcome to book those meetings.
And
All
Mari,
right.
I've added this link to the chat window. So on the chat
Oh,
window,
good.
you have access to it for to book a time. Okay.
Perfect. So now let's go into questions and answers. Okay.
Sure.
So Gerardo, uh, I'll let you start off. What have people been asking?
So far, we've had a question that I tried to address on the chat, but I'll read it out for you from Alejandra
Mhm.
Cabrera. Very interesting. Do these rules apply when you are selling a product or service via social media versus a website? And by the way, eh, please post your questions on the chat, and we'll answer them live. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the answer is yes. There's actually a process called social for conversion, all right, which is similar to PPC for conversion, but there are some other rules that go with social for conversion. And what we teach people is two things. You always provide value in your social media posts, whatever they are. Whether you're doing fun things, okay, thought-provoking things, or educational things. I don't care what you're doing, all right, because that's all about your brand and who you are, right? But you're always providing value. And then you can apply either the 5-to-1 or 7-to-1 rule. And let me explain that. And by the way, I prefer 7-to-1 but you can use 5 to 1. And that rule is, again, all the aligning of intent, all the things we talked about when they land on the page. Did it match the upfront post? Am I in the right place? How do I feel about this? What am I supposed to do there? All of that's still true, whether you're doing educational stuff or promotional stuff, doesn't matter. But the 7 to 1 or 5 to 1 rule is basically education for number one. Education, and let's say you're doing education versus fun. All right, it's the same process. Education, education two, education three, education four, education five. The next one can be promotional. You've earned the right, if you've provided real value, to add a promotional post. Now we prefer 7 to 1 over 5 to 1, but your social media, and this is what we call social media for conversion. Okay, it is all about providing value. Now, within the posts themselves that you're doing, if you're trying to get them to engage with you, to watch your video, or to go to your site, even on the educational or fun stuff, right? You deliver what you promised, all right? Whatever you said, take this quiz, read this article, learn how to do whatever the thing is. I don't care, all right? Whatever the thing is, provide the value. And just like I said earlier on with the gated content, how you can let someone download something, and at the end, because you've given something good, you can ask for something. In social media, when they get to the very end of it, you've earned the right to ask for things. You could ask them to share it. Okay, you've earned the right if you've done something of quality. You could ask them to look at another piece of content, right? You've earned the right. Again, as long as you're providing value. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that answered that question. Gerardo, any follow-ups, or is that we're good on that?
I, I think we're good. I think we're good. I don't see people posting questions so far. I have a question for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us about any broad differences between doing conversion rate optimization for an e-commerce site versus a B2B site, where obviously what you need is to drive people to maybe log a call or book an appointment or book a demo, right? Instead of
Yeah.
just at that moment making a purchase decision. What would be broad differences?
Um, well, if it depends, some of it, I'm gonna have to say start with it depends. Okay,
Hmm.
it depends on like on the e-commerce site, am I selling a thing, or am I selling thousands of items? Right.
Hmm.
In the lead gen site, are there lots of things that they could be interested in, or I really only have one thing to offer? Right. So part of that, it falls into the depends category. So with that in mind, um, with both of them require trust, but in lead gen, all right, because it's especially high value lead gen, by the way. In lead gen, what you have to do is that give before you get becomes even more important. And so you have to have what we call content for conversion. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to throw out all these things to folks, because we kind of define social for conversion, and we didn't define PPC conversion. That's a whole nother thing.
I mean, yeah,
But content for
uh,
conversion, sorry.
just everyone, this could go very, very deep, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
conversion is a topic that could go so deep, but let's just keep it at the top level.
Yeah, I know. Well, you asked the big one is the
I
problem.
know,
All
I
right.
know.
So in content for conversion for lead gen, all right, what we need to do is you need to deliver the right content to the right person at the right time in their buying decision, all right, and or their lead decision, right? And so by what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you're doing you know consumer lead gen. Well, maybe you've got the decision maker, which maybe is the mom, okay, but you got the influencer, which might be the kid, right? Or it might be, you've got the, the for lead gen for not for or for business, you've got the engineer who's buying something, but he's got a purchasing agent. They have different things that they need to know during their roles or what they're trying to accomplish in the buying cycle, right? And so you need to identify who these people are so that you provide the right content at the right time, the
Mhm.
right person at the right time. And there's a whole strategy that goes along with that, as opposed to um, in e-commerce, it is a lot more, and even as crazy as it sounds, high value, like that $2,000 grill that I showed you. Um, there, it's more about, do I feel good about you? What's the specs? Does this thing matter? Versus in lead gen, they're actually consuming the content. So you actually have to create a lot more content in a story to flow to get them to take action.
Sure.
I'm
So
sorry, we could seriously spend
no, I
days
know
on
we
this.
could. I mean, and we have clients that we work with this, and it's months of project. But so just to finalize on that, a content for conversion, especially specifically for for the depth that you discussed, would be not only conversion rate optimization, but you will probably need some sort of automation system that allows you to present the message that is relevant to that audience, whatever they are in the buying decision channel, etc. Right? So there's a lot to consider. I have Antonio Bojorges asking, what are the best ways to obtain info on what our visitors want?
Antonio, that is a really good question, and let me make it easy for you. There's hard ways to do this, and there's easier ways to do this. Okay, so one of the simplest ways to do this is to actually, you know, ask your visitors. You can actually put up polls. You can ask, did you get what you're looking for, and so on. There's tons of tools that do that, from simple tools like Hotjar, which has it as part of their process, to very complicated ones like Medallia, which is very expensive. So asking polls is a great way to do it. Keep in mind though that people are self-selecting in polls. All right, so you're getting a lot of answers, but you're not getting all the answers. But you may or may not want to interrupt people with polls, although exit intent polls are not bad. Okay. The other thing that you can do, which is less obtrusive, which leaves clues, is to do heat mapping and uh, session recording. And again, there's plenty of tools that do that. Hotjar again has those embedded in it, but there's Maslow, Lucky Orange. I mean, there's got to be like
Crazy
50.
Eggs.
Yeah, I mean, there's great. It's nuts how many there are. So by looking at the what people are actually doing on your site, that gives you clues as to, are they finding what they're looking for. The other thing that you can do is you can put site search up on your website, and based on whatever they're searching for, that tells you what they're looking for on your website. So if you don't have site search enabled, and by the way, site search also, as I pointed out earlier, can show you what problems you're having, but site search absolutely also will point out what people are looking for. Those are the simple things to do. There's a lot more complicated ones with user panels if you want. There's things that you can look in analytics, but again, this is a day worth of answers. Hopefully, just doing polls, session recordings, and maybe site search is the simple and easy way for you. Okay. Hopefully that answered that question,
Yep.
Antonio.
Yep. So I don't see any more questions for now, and we're at top of the hour. So why don't we start wrapping up? And if there's another question, we have time probably for one or two more questions. So if you want to ask something, just type it now. Otherwise, we will wrap up. Um, any last thoughts, Marty, before we say goodbye?
Um, well, I would encourage you all, like I said, to schedule that appointment with Gerardo and one of the conversion folks. Look, at the end of the day, we're just going to point out the stuff that's going to help you make some money. So if we can be of assistance, or if you'd like to connect with us on LinkedIn, or just reach out to Gerardo. At the end of the day, I'm going back to Gerardo said, during this COVID-19, we're doing these webinars, we're all in this together. And the idea is, look, if we can provide some value and help you in any way, shape, or form, it's good karma. What goes around comes around. And so Gerardo and I are here for you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Marty, and thank you for participating in this series of webinars. We've been conducting. I think this is our 7th webinar. We're just giving free education. We're trying to do what we can to flatten the curve, so to speak. As I said, we're not health experts, politicians. We don't control many things, but at least what we can do is we can reach out to the rest of our community, help out with some free consulting. And as you said, what goes around comes around. We know that if we're leaning in now and helping people out, we think that's going to come back to us in the future. So um, please reach out. You have the Calendly link on the chat window. Marty, thank you so much again for your time. It's always a pleasure to hear you teach conversion. I'm really looking forward to the publishing of your book. I'm going to be one of
Me
the.
too.
I hope I can get a signed
I will
copy.
send you a signed. Yeah, I will send you a signed copy when it magically shows up. Okay.
Absolutely. And I have some comments, interesting, enlightening, thought-provoking. Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Marty, I know we have another call coming soon,
No problem.
so we'll
Talk to you
connect
soon.
again. See you.
Okay.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye all.